Parliament, John Kaguchia, has been arraigned over alleged offensive conduct that police say was likely to cause a breach of the peace. Now, Kaguchia is accused of making remarks in Kikuyu language at Narumoru Shopping Center in Kieni East, Nyeri County on August the 1st, 2026, which police claim were intended to provoke hostility among members of the public. The prosecution claims Kaguchia told members of the public that anyone in Kieni who voted for or supported Kasongo would be identified and socially isolated. The charge sheet further alleges he said supporters would not be visited during bereavement and their dowry ceremonies would be boycotted. Also, if they fell ill, they should seek health care in Sugoi. Remarks the prosecution say were intended to provoke a breach of the peace.
The court is invited, Your Honor, to interrogate whether there was compliance with the Constitution, not violation of the Constitution, but compliance with the Constitution. I am laying emphasis on compliance and distinguishing it from violation because I know my learned friends will go to the Magistrate Act and pull the magical Section 8. But that's not what I'm saying. I am inviting the court to look at the application of the Constitution. And that question, Your Honor, of the application of the Constitution has been dealt with by the Supreme Court in the case of Hussein Khalid versus the ODPP, Supreme Court petition number 21 of 2017 at paragraph 23 and 24. Supreme Court, Hussein Khalid versus the AG, Supreme Court petition number 21 of 2017. At paragraph 23 and 24 of the judgment, the Supreme Court, oh yes, sir. I beg your pardon. May I take it again? Hussein Khalid versus the Attorney General and others of the ODPP, Supreme Court, petition number 21 of 2017. Of our interest is paragraph 23 and 24. In those paragraphs, Your Honor, the Supreme Court distinguished between 23 and 24. The Supreme Court distinguished between the responsibility of a court of law to apply the Constitution and to interpret the Constitution. There was a distinction. And the Supreme Court indicated that the responsibility of the interpretation of the Constitution vests with the High Court, while a magistrate court such as this one can apply the Constitution. And of course, the Supreme Court, Your Honor, was coming from Article 20, Your Honor, Clause 3, where it provides that in applying the provisions of the Bill of Rights, a court shall. The Constitution does not define the jurisdiction of the court. It merely provides the court shall. And for the court, for these purposes, therefore, means even this particular court established under this Constitution. And you are told, Your Honor, when applying the Bill of Rights, and again, the law, the article provides the word applying, not interpreting. In applying the Bill of Rights, a court of law shall develop the law to the extent that it does not give effect to the rights or fundamental freedoms. So when you're applying this provision, Your Honor, even upon the basis upon which this prosecution was mounted, you are invited to apply the law and see whether there was compliance. If therefore there was no compliance with the law and it is so dictated that there must be a compliance, the question therefore would be, if the garbage in or is it garbage out? If we have put in garbage, can we get any good end results at the fullness of time? Yona, you might want to look at that charge sheet that has been brought before you. You are told that our client ought to take plea for offensive conduct conducive to the breach of peace. And the conduct is as a consequence of his utterance. And you're told, Your Honor, that there was an interpreter who has interpreted the language from Kikuyu language to English language. Your Honor, we need to look at that propriety of the interpretation itself. And why is it important, Your Honor? Before I come to that, it's because Article 50, Clause 2, invites you, Your Honor, Clause 2, Paragraph B, provides that every accused person has a right to a fair trial, which includes the right to be informed of the charge with sufficient details to answer to it. The place where you find the information of a charge is in the particulars of the charge. Therefore, the particulars of the charge must be able to communicate in a manner that the accused person understands the charges that he faces. And Your Honor, granted the fact that we have only 2 languages in this country, English and Kiswahili, the interpretation must conform and must inform the accused person of the particulars and the ingredients of the charge. If there is any distortion, Your Honor, then there cannot be a charge to which the accused person can answer to. And although this is a new field where the court needs to interrogate and explore in its effort to develop the law, when an interpretation such as this one is done and it's not accompanied with a certificate, how shall we know that the interpretation from Kikuyu language, the English language, captioned the actual words that are deemed or perceived to be offensive? I know the ODPP will say that the Criminal Procedure Code does not allow them or action them to accompany a certificate. But again, we are told to develop the law. And the reason why you are told to develop the law, Your Honor, is so that you can implement the strict adherence to the Bill of Rights. Such that, Your Honor, if our client was to respond to the charges, it must not amount to a violation of his rights under Article 50. This is one of the unique cases, Your Honor, where such a certificate is required to make sure that the accused person understands the charges facing him. You know, I have the benefit of understanding the language that is deemed to be offensive, the Kikuyu language. I equally have the benefit of understanding the little English from my school. And you can see clearly the difference. For example, the words deemed to be offensive have used the word kasongo twice. If you go to the interpretation, you'll only see the word kasongo once. Where did the other one go? And was it material? Number 2, Your Honor, I'll refer you to a thesis. I beg your pardon?
All right. Yes, we follow up on those proceedings to give you more updates later. President William